So, hi guys and girls and everything in between. This is your podcasting pal, Psycho Steve. I'm here on Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. This is the first of its kind. We've never actually done this type of interview. So you are our, I guess you can call it our guinea pig.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we are very fortunate and blessed to have comedian, actor, vegan, because I heard you're also
not anymore. I'm not currently vegan. No, I'm retired vegan. Yes, currently.
So retired vegan.
But my diet gets even more interesting.
Oh, can't wait to talk about that.
We'll talk about
nice.
that. Yeah.
Also multilingual, and of course, dad. Comedian, actor.
Yeah.
I could keep going, but
musician, director.
Musician, right.
Yep.
Extraordinaire, Mr. Hal Sparks.
Thank you very much.
And we are at the Hard Rock Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Hotel
Yeah.
Casino in Atlantic City, New
Just in
Jersey.
case you missed that part of it.
Yes,
or
we
you're
are in
only
the green
listening.
room, and if I look like I'm schwitzing, it's just because
they were trying to
did not pay the AC.
That's right.
So
They were trying to murder me. So luckily they didn't check first to make sure that there wasn't anybody else coming in, and it blew the whole plan. So luckily we came in and cooled the place off. It's getting reasonable in here.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
Before you should have seen. I lost a couple of pounds of weight.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's
cool.
There you go.
I'm trying to get into
it works out. Yeah,
because I see you on Instagram. I'm like, damn, I look like Pee Wee Herman stunt double next time. I'm like, how does he do that? I'm just like,
I don't know. Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
So I get winded when I run my credits. So I don't know.
Sure, right. Yeah.
So.
Opening the show. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I got to tap out. We'll be back after this.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So, okay, we're just going to get right to it.
Yeah.
First of all, you've been in comedian for how many years now?
35.
Okay.
No, wait, 33.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
who got you into comedy?
My dad, by trying to keep me out of it, I suppose.
Right.
I oddly enough, it does. He used to try to ground me in high school to keep me from sneaking downtown to Chicago to do stand up. It never worked, but I guess the earliest idea where I was like, I want to be a comedian was my dad is a bluegrass musician. He's an architect, but he's also a bluegrass musician.
What instrument does he play?
He plays guitar and a little bit of banjo and mandolin, and he fixes fret. He does fret work for a lot of well-known bluegrass players.
Awesome.
And they've been around our house all my life. I've just known a lot of country and bluegrass players because of that, and they've always come to my dad for instruments, blah blah blah. So my dad fixed an instrument for a buddy of his. And the guy couldn't afford to pay him, so he goes, but I'll trade you these 4 crates of records. He had these milk carton crates just full of records.
Cool.
And he's like, I'll trade you that in exchange for the repairs and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And a full quarter of them were comedy records. And they were some of them were relatively new. Like at that point, it was Toledo Window Box by George Carlin and Let's Get Small, Steve Martin, that kind of zone, because it was the late 70s, so 1977, 78, but the rest of them were ancient, either early 60s, 50s. There was even some Marx Brothers recordings on these vinyl tin plate records. It was awesome. And so I spent so much time just absorbing all of them, and I would just listen to them endlessly, and then basically at the end of it I was like, all right, let's do that, let's just be a comedian. When I was 12 or something, I was like, okay, I got to get out of Kentucky and then figure out how to. And my dad moved to Chicago for a job after my parents divorced, and I decided my freshman year of high school that I was going to go live with him. Not because I wanted to live with my dad at that time particularly. I'd rather probably stayed with my mom, but I had to get out of Kentucky, and Chicago seemed perfect.
Nice.
And so I was there about 7 months before I started doing stand-up.
Wow, that young.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then I graduated high school, packed all my shit in my car, and drove to L.A. And because I was like, that's where I got to be. I can go to New York or L.A., and at L.A. I can work more.
Right.
And so, and it's a little cheaper to live. So that was my,
at that time.
Yeah, that was my decision point. Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So, who would you say your influences are from being comics?
Richard Pryor, Steve Martin, George Carlin, and then of the unknown people like Godfrey Cambridge. I think some people may know him, of course, but he's more of a 60s comic. And then Shelley Berman's kind of sketch records really had an impact. And then, in the 80s, it was like Billy Crystal's A Comics line really kind of opened me up to character pieces in your stand-up and voicing stuff and not just doing impersonations, but doing, like, being more flexible on stage with what you allow yourself to do. Right. And all I knew is I didn't want to be Bill Cosby. And that was all that mattered.
Awesome.
Yeah. And now on multiple levels.
Right.
But even then, like, seeing Bill Cosby himself, I like really saw the genius of that special. But he sat down the entire time and barely moved, and I was like, this is not lively enough for me. This is, as a Kiss fan, I cannot be on stage and not move around and make a,
all tree, no bark.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree.
That's right.
100%.
Yeah.
It was like when I saw Mark St. John, because I was very blessed to see Mark St. John.
Oh, wow, yeah.
When he was playing a Kiss.
Yeah.
And then when Bruce Kulick joined and everything, he just stood there for the first couple of shows.
Yeah.
He was just like
petrified.
Gene's like, move your hands.
Yeah, go do something. Right, yeah.
Move from the mic, grab a bunch of picks, or stick them on your headstock and move.
Yeah, and start throwing them at people. Just interact.
Exactly.
These people are here to see us. Yeah.
Right.
That's a tough one. I mean, it is tough to take, especially... and lead guitarists are particularly tough on this one because they're usually the most introverted guys, so that they spend the most time alone in their bedroom practicing and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you end up with like George Lynch, who basically had like stage fright so bad he would do entire shows facing the amps.
Right.
And rhythm guitarists are like, I'm not good enough to play that stuff, but look at me, and the same thing with bass players. Bass players is like, I don't want to work too hard, I just want the girls, and that's totally the genes that's in, right?
Absolutely.
So but lead guitar, and he was one of those guys who like could teach. School.
Right.
So he was that good a player. Mm-hmm. But there's a huge leap between the doing and the performing.
Right.
And until you can do it and you can't perform it, and there's this window where you can't skip that time. It's almost like your nervous system gets cured like a barrel over time, or wine or something.
Right.
That you can't. That's why stand-up is about time on stage.
Right.
It more than anything. It doesn't. You don't even have to do well. You just have to get up on stage and keep doing it, because eventually your nervous system will be tired of sucking. And so you'll just go, like, can we be good tonight so we can, oh, God, this is too hard,
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So have you ever had stage fright?
No. I've always had the two greatest things a comedian needs: arrogance and stupidity. Those are your best friends.
Well, I have it. I'm on the radio.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, arrogance and stupidity, and it's crucial. I'm only kidding slightly, because confidence comes after you've done something.
Right.
I'm confident now as a comedian, but when I started, what the fuck is your confidence based on?
Right.
There is nothing about this that says that I'm going to be good from scratch. Like standing up on stage and saying I'm going to make people laugh,
right, is an arrogant act if you've never done it before. It's an absurdity, and so you have to be completely full of yourself to believe it, to just get started. And most people lose it too quickly. They get up there, they get checked by the audience, right, or heckled.
Yeah, right, and then they burn down too quickly. And you just your arrogance has to last like a good 6 years to burn you into the confidence thing. But then it's stupid, because technically speaking, you're not going to make it. Technically, the odds are against you.
Gotcha.
So statistically, you've got a better chance of crossing a 6-lane highway at night dressed in black, blindfolded, than you do making it in any of the arts. Right. So welcome back, by the way.
He's the smoothest, chunky peanut butter I know.
I was like,
we're gonna keep that in.
Is he trying to break out of the? I'll pretend that I'm not looking, but all right. Yeah, right. I thought the interview was going well.
Wow.
The interviews just are crawling out of the room. Good. As long as you leave the microphones and the cameras, I don't care. But yeah, you have to be materially stupid to go up against those kind of odds and think for a second that you're going to make it. So you got to put that stuff aside. You have to go. Statistics aren't about humans. Statistics are about groups, and I don't give a shit about groups. Right. I'm doing me, and so I've always had that, and it never went away. Thank God.
Nice. Now, do you find yourself funny?
Yeah, I'm hilarious, and I crack myself up. It doesn't happen on stage very often because I'm working.
Right.
But it has, every so often.
You have that aha moment?
Well, because sometimes when you have an inspired joke moment, you're riffing on something, and I write a lot on stage, and so I'll say something that just occurs to me as a joke, and it's so funny that I laugh at it, because it's not something where you're like, oh, I'll take this idea and juxtapose it against this idea, and you're almost doing it on autopilot.
Right.
So some of the stuff is literally inspirational moments, and so when those pop out, you're like, that's hilarious. Who said that? Oh, I said that.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of comics do that, at least in their hangouts with their friends and stuff. You have to be. I know that a shit ton of miserable comics who not only don't laugh at their own stuff but never laugh anyways, and it's such a job. And they're like an old hooker who was like, I started this because I liked sex, and now I can give it. Here we go again.
Yeah, work hard and put away wet.
That's right. Let's saddle up. I don't care. What's your name?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Were you a class clown?
No, because you have to go to class to be the class clown. I was the ditch clown. I was the guy who didn't show up. You have to actually... I once had... My math teacher in high school once brought the whole class down to the lounge, the student lounge, to find me, because he heard I was ditching class. Wow. And he literally we're all going to go get Sparks. And they all came down and got me, and walked me, and he was like, he thought this would be, just shameful for me or whatever. And I was like high-fiving all the other students as the class.
That's great.
Like, I'll escape again, warden, bullshit I was saying. Yeah, right, yeah. So, but I was definitely funny in school.
Right.
But, I went to New Trier High School, which is it's a big school. It's a public school, but it's like a lot of rich kids go there. I was the poorest kid there by a wide margin. And they have a theater department that's on par with Northwestern University. Like, wow. They have a huge. We did a production of Pirates of Penzance with an entire pirate ship on stage, like a 2-deck pirate ship. Awesome. We did Brighton Beach Memoirs with a 2-story apartment house building on it, so they could do multi-level. Scenes took place on both. It was like insane. And so once you had a skill there, they'll put you to work. Like, as a comedian, it wasn't like, oh, he's doing like original comedy and forensics, this competition between schools or whatever. Like, it's about like, all right, go downtown and start working, kid. Like, wow. They have a real blue collar approach to it, which I appreciate.
And you were in Chicago.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, are you a Cheap Trick or an Enough's Enough fan, or both?
Oh yeah, I'm more of an Enough's Enough fan.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love Cheap Trick. I do, but I grew up in a window where I really love Cheap Trick, and I know Chip now and that kind of stuff, which is kind of cool. And but like, just the Strength record, is fucking phenomenal. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, it is a must record. It is so...
Definitely. It's one of my Deserted Island CDs.
Yeah.
I have like 10 of them. And
absolutely. I love New Thing, and I love, even the stuff that they've done after. Right. But like, and... Yeah, but Strength, just even that song as a lead-in or whatever, but like, Hollywood Ya and all that. It's just a great record.
Absolutely. It's so very underrated, and I tell everybody they're Howard Stern's favorite band.
Yeah.
They're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they really are. Yeah, and Stern, I heard an interview with them, because I didn't know that for the longest time. I was like, who the fuck besides me knows Enough's Enough or cares? And I heard this interview with them on Stern or whatever, and they were calling in because they had a gig in Jersey that night or something. And he goes, as he's hanging up with him, because they're raspy, their voices are like,
cigarettes.
Yeah, right. And he goes, okay, guys, well, have a good night. Go gargle crushed clamshells or whatever you do before a show, because their voices were so ragged out, Donnie's writing I've always been a huge fan of, too. So, they were amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
He's no longer in the band, unfortunately.
I know that.
He's doing a solo thing.
Yeah.
And he just got out of the hospital, so he's doing okay.
That's a pretty much a rotating thing for him. Bless his heart.
And Chip is now doing
Enough. Yeah, I know. He's
vocal and bass.
He sounds great. Yeah. So, I talked to him about coming up and singing New Thing with him the next time I see him play. Yeah.
Awesome. You should get up and play guitar, because you also play guitar.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of guitar.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing? Did your dad teach you? Or did
No,
you
my dad got me an acoustic, which is a guaranteed way of making your kid play electric,
right?
Which is good. I was in a band in high school,
right,
with my buddy Johnny, and he, it's basically all the guys who played. They wanted to have a band,
right,
and they didn't want to sing because they were all guitar player, bass player, drummer, whatever.
Right.
And I'm the only person who knew all the lyrics to the songs they wanted to do.
Okay.
So I couldn't really sing at that time. I was not in any shape to sing,
right,
but I could bark through the lyrics and get it done.
Right.
And then one day we were singing "You Got Another Thing Coming."
Nice.
And it got to the "In this world we're living in, we have a share of sorrow." And at the end of it, I did a little bit of a vibrato at the end of the line, like you're supposed to, because it's on the record, and that's just what you do. And I was trying to do my best for the guys, just like I'm just limping through this. And John literally stopped the whole band, and he went, "Did you just sing with vibrato? When did you learn how to sing with vibrato?" And from that point on, I was like, "Okay, maybe I can actually sing. Let's try this." And then while they would take a break, they would go up, and it was at my buddy Mike's house, and we would rehearse in his basement. And then they would go up and just sit around the kitchen table and drink Diet Cokes till they were blue in the face and talk about songs or whatever. And I would just sit down there with John's guitar and just learn little things. So I would learn just like, I think the first riff I ever learned was the A-Team theme, because it was the easiest power chord. Now, I was like, okay, that I can figure out, right?
Absolutely.
And then I built on all that, and eventually, started learning some articulation by doing, Crazy Train and other stuff like that, which is kind of the key ones for that. And I'm a huge Queensryche fan, and started learning like really stretched chords.
Nice.
And that was like, okay, I can't play as fast as some of these other dudes, but for whatever reason, I can sprawl out and position these giant jazzy kind of chords and stuff. And I'm a huge King's X fan, so I started learning, like stuff that on their records to kind of teach myself around that, the drop D tuning and the extra like, augmenting with the pinky way down on that part. I was like, oh, this is stuff I can do.
Just
amazing, just incredible. And and I discovered them because of Gene Simmons, because it was an article in like a bass player magazine or something. And he was like, they asked him, well, who do you listen to now? Who do you think is great now? And he goes, there's a band called King's X that's doing some stuff that's pretty damn neat. I'll never forget the quote. So I immediately went out and bought
Gretchen.
Gretchen. Well, it was out. I found out of the Silent Planet first because Gretchen had been bought out because they only had probably 3 copies of it.
Right.
Ever.
Absolutely.
And so I bought that, and then I came back and got the other one, and I just ate it up. And Gretchen is such a, oh my God, it's a bulletproof record.
Absolutely. Well, just the band is just so
amazing.
Another underrated band.
Exactly. So we always champion the underrated bands. But yeah, so those, that was the big part of it. So I started when I was about 16, just piddling around at it.
Okay.
And then when I moved to LA, I finally got an electric that I thought was worth playing, and then really started sawing away at it and writing songs.
Do you still own it?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah. What is it? What kind of guitar is it?
It's an ESP.
Okay.
It was a M2. Some dude had a busted headstock on it, and my dad fixed it.
Right on.
So I was like, I'll get this, because it was expensive friggin' guitar.
Yeah, they're not cheap still.
No, yeah. And so that was, and then I've been an ESP player largely ever since. I have some really nice Gibsons that I love.
Yeah, I know you have this one.
I got the Zach Bullseye.
Right?
Yeah, I've got the first run of those. And I'm going to get a Wild Audio too, because I like his stuff, and the necks are just too friggin' fat. My fingers aren't long enough.
You're also freaking a little smaller.
Yes, he is. He's well, it's like a Paul Stanley guitar. I would love to have one of his mirror broken ones or whatever, but he's a big dude too.
Yeah.
So he's got these big flat necks that look like like you're playing an 8-string bass.
Right. You're like John Mayung from Dream Theater.
That's right. Yeah.
I know. So.
Yeah. So I the perfect guitar for me.
Right.
I finally, after all these years, found it. It's the ESP EC500, and they don't make it anymore. They make the 417 or some horse shit, and the thousands are fine, but the frets are a little larger, so I have to sand them all down to get them kind of as small as like extra jumbos as opposed to the jumbo frets. And so but the EC500 was it was built for me. So they don't make them anymore. So whenever I'm touring, I'll go into a Guitar Center and just see if there's a
Well, I have a connection. One of my friends is He does all of the endorsements, for, not for ESP, but he works for Guitar Center.
Yeah.
So if you want,
those are the ones. Yeah. Anytime they find one, they only made white ones and black ones,
right?
And the white ones are kind of pretty. I call them the clouds. I play the clouds, right, and then I have the black kind of matte finish one. I've only found one of those that was in any decent shape, and scooped that up in Seattle.
Cool.
Last time I was doing stand up there.
Nice.
So that's my repertoire. That's what I write on. I've probably written almost every song I've ever done on an EC 500.
Cool.
And it just because it feels right. I believe every guitar has like 17 songs in it.
Right on.
They're all different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the tone and everything is different as
They'll
well.
talk to you differently, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So from acting on TV or movie, which do you like better?
Between TV and movies?
Yeah.
Movies, you have more time.
Right.
So you can do the same scene over a couple of days, usually, if you need to. Because I've done so much acting on television, I don't need the extra day.
Right. That's cool.
So it becomes... if you're working with an actor who does, it becomes a little tiresome.
Right.
Because you see 2 days of them not getting a better performance, just doing it again and again and again. They're very different. I mean, obviously, Lab Rats is episodic and it's multicam.
Right.
You know, so it's like doing a play. Sitcoms are like doing a musical without the songs.
Right.
That's about the energy and about the kind of style that you're going for. Features and single camera television are almost equal these days on what people require from the performance, which is great. You know what I mean? It used to be a little bit bigger on TV and and smaller in film, but now everybody's got giant television sets and they've got really good cinema lenses. So if you're on Criminal Minds or you're on Walking Dead, you're having to turn in the same kind of performance you would in a feature film anyways. And so I don't think a lot of TV actors get enough credit for the quality. So it's really about the material more than anything, because you can do a giant movie and a tiny nothing television show, but that's just awesome, and it's there's really no way for me to bifurcate those out.
Gotcha.
Where would you put Dude, Where's My Car on a scale?
Oh, I would call that nearly musical level acting. It's obviously a heightened comedy style, but it's aimed at a specific audience. It's aimed at like kind of stoner crowd, just fun. And I have a huge love for pulp. I love movies just for movies' sake. I mean, it's great to be involved in stuff that has meaning and depth and length and all that kind of stuff. But there's just something to be able to know that the people who are watching what you're doing are just going to have a great time, and everything that they're worried about is just going to go out the window temporarily. And Dude, Where's My Car is one of those kind of movies. You know what I mean? And that turned into a rolling monster of just cultural affect, because like the whole Zoltan hand thing, the Pirates started doing that when they would hit a home run or hit a base hit, and I ended up throwing out the first pitch with it. They gave me a Zoltan jersey, like it's crazy. Like, and I thought this up. I made that hand symbol up for the movie because they didn't know. They knew that they wanted some sort of like Spock-like thing to do every time people said Zoltan, but they didn't know what. They were having a hard time coming up with what it was. And so they put it in the call sheet, like, whoever comes up with this gets $24.93. And that was like a joke. Like, come on, everybody, try to come up with this. We'll give you $24.93 and that's it, or something. And I still have the call sheet somewhere. But I was like, well, shit, it's my cult. I should be the one to come up with it. So I went home that night and I was like really racking my brain, and I was like, the initial one I came up with like 2 Spock things put together like that, and then I was like, nobody's going to be able to do that fast. Weird guitar players can do that quickly, but not citizens. And so eventually I boiled it down to just a big Z right in front of your chest, like that. And I was like, this is the easiest thing. And I was like, and I'm like, you can do this, make everybody put their hands, make it a big kind of like Hail Hydra kind of moment, if you want. But eventually I was just like, all it is pow, like that. And they're like, yeah, we can teach that to everybody. Done. And so it became a thing.
Nice.
And then, flash forward a couple years later, sitting in a given restaurant at a given time, a bunch of 15-year-old kids will walk by, see me in a window, run away, then I'll run back and go, Zoltan! and then run away. Like
That's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Did you ever get your $24.93?
I did. They gave me a check.
Nice. It's probably
I don't think I didn't cash it. I have it somewhere.
All right. So speaking of kids and everything, I'm a single dad of 2. He's happily married and he has several kids himself. You have a kid yourself.
Yeah, 7.
Does he think you're funny?
Oh yeah, he knows I'm funny.
Does he know what you do? Like
yeah, he's come. I brought him to the set for Lab Rats for the Disney show and stuff, and let him sit and watch me act, and he knew very early on. Dad does funny voices. Dad's funny. Dad can make people laugh. Right. And that's enough, for like whether he'll decide because he won't think I'm funny when he's a teenager. Except when he watches my stuff. Right. He won't think I'm funny in person.
Right, exactly.
But he'll watch my other stuff, and he'll think that's funny. And I know he will because it's objectively funny.
Right.
Whether he likes it or not.
Exactly. You have to like it.
Yeah, but I started teaching him timing at a very young age.
Right.
So we would do these things where I would walk up to him and I would sit kind of idle up next to him while he's sitting right there, and I'd go like that, and then pause for a second and do the same thing again, and eventually he'd start going like that, and we would time it at the same time, so he would know we could kind of pin off of each other when we're doing whatever, and so we'd both be going right at the same time. And there was a point where he knew how to kind of trigger something to be funny based on that. And so when he's walking, there's a difference between walking by and going, "Hey man, what's going on?" and going, "Hey man," and you can find where the wiggle room is for the funny part of that. Whatever you're doing, there's a funny timing version of everything like that. So I try to teach him that kind of stuff, just so on a personality level. And he's awesome. He's so smart. It's great.
It's scary what kids know these days. Like,
yeah,
I had to watch a YouTube video. My oldest son's going to be 10 in April.
Yeah.
My youngest son is going to be 7 next month, and they're doing math. And I had to watch a YouTube because the math today isn't like when we were going to school. And he's like, "Oh, it's easy." I'm like, "Yeah, you show me."
Sure.
And he showed me. I'm like, "Huh?"
I don't understand what you did there. Right.
And I'm like, "You got my personality, my looks from me. Intelligence maybe from your mom. I'll give her credit for that."
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know. He's like, "Oh, what's
the generation?"
Yeah,
or
something.
Dad was like,
I'm just like,
yeah, we're all, my family, my dad's an architect, my mom's a nurse, so we're all memory people. Like, we can remember stuff and we can organize, and it's very distinct that it's in the family, whether you want to believe it's some sort of genetic run or if it's actually based on just behavior patterns because of their chosen professions. Either way, we live kind of a checklist lifestyle, and so I don't forget anything, and neither does he now. Like, he's so good at discerning out, like, "No, we said we were going to go Wednesday, to the thing," or I'm like, "Yep, we did, cool." And I'm like, my big thing is like, just don't bullshit your kids.
Right.
You can tell them you're not allowed to know that right now. You're too young. You need to focus on something else. You're not going to be able to comprehend it, so don't even start. And that's okay. That's enough. You know what I mean? That's me being honest. Your brain's not done cooking yet. Talk to me when you're 22 about that concept.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and I mean, he's just the greatest. He's just awesome.
So, have you brought him to a concert yet?
Yeah, his first concert was Neil Diamond.
Oh, man.
So, Neil Diamond's daughter, her kids are huge Lab Rats fans, my Disney series. Okay. And so, by meeting her at something, I was like, "Oh, wow, Neil Diamond's daughter. That's awesome. I love your dad. My mom had his records when I was a kid, and yada yada." And she goes, "Well, anytime she asked me if they could come to the set." And I was like, because we talk more about Lab Rats, I was like, "Absolutely, we'll hook it up. Just bring your kids down. You and your husband, just bring them down and hang out for the afternoon, and you can call action on something or whatever if you want." And the kids were flipping out. It was great. It's always lovely. And so she said, "My dad's playing the Hollywood Bowl if you want to go." When it comes up, and I'm like, "Of course I want to go."
That's Neil
Diamond, right?
Hands. Yeah.
Touching hands.
And so at Madison Square Garden.
Oh man, yeah. So so I take Camden and my son, and we go to see Neil Diamond, just me and him. And we got great seats. We're fairly close, and Neil's elderly and kind of deafish now, and he's got probably in-ears during the whole thing. So he's not even when the audience is screaming, he's not even really hearing it. You know, he's wandering back and he's like, "It's word just getting across the stage." You know what I mean? And
his walker.
Yeah, and I was like, at one point he did. You know, they finished a song, and I was like, when it gets really quiet, yell "Hi Neil" as loud as you can, because he's got this tiny little cute 6-year-old voice or whatever at that time, 5-year-old. He was 5, yeah, and he just goes, "Hi Neil," like as loud, and I was amazed at volume the child was able to mount, you know, and Neil went, "That I heard."
Awesome.
And the whole place laughed. It was great.
That's great.
And everybody could tell it was like a little kid because his voice is so distinct. So we had a great time.
That happened to me with my parents dragged me to an Engelbert Humperdinck concert.
Right.
Okay, I was the youngest guy there. And he has a daughter that performs as well. Her name's Lauren Dorsey. I'm like maybe, I don't know, 18 years old. And then my mom and dad are like, "Why don't you come with us?" I'm like, "Okay." So I'm sitting in between them, and it was sponsored by the AARP or something.
Right, yeah, sure.
And I was the only one at the time I had hair. I was in a divorce book.
Understood.
So, and everybody else had like gray hair or balding or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, "I'm going to introduce my daughter, Miss Lauren Dorsey. She's going to come out and do a couple songs." She comes out and everything. I was just like, wow. And everybody starts clapping. I'm like, and I call my dad Homer because he's tall, bald, and goofy looking. So I'm like, "Hey, Homer, she's fucking hot."
Right.
And she hears me. And she's like, "Thank you."
Oh, damn.
I'm like, "You're welcome." Yeah. I was like, wow, just that Engelbert Humperdinck's daughter's hot.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Fucking hot. My dad, who she thinks is Homer from The Simpsons. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, my first concert was Kiss.
Right on. And that was in Chicago?
No, it was in Kentucky, in Rupp Arena in Kentucky.
Okay.
And, my dad had... My dad's architectural office, he worked for the state, was right across the hall from the Kentucky Film Commission.
Nice.
And the Kentucky Film Commission, you have to get permission from them if you want to film, and KISS films all their shows and has forever.
Right.
And so they got we were just talking about this morning, but they got the guy who ran the film commission was a born again Christian and wouldn't let they comp you tickets to come to the show for giving him the pass or whatever, and he wouldn't even let the tickets in his office. He made him stick it in the file thing outside the mail slot outside the door.
Right.
And he goes, "Sparks, I know your kid's into that satanic music. You want them, you can have them." And so my mom and I went and saw the show.
Awesome. What year was this?
1980.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you saw Eric Carr.
Dynasty.
Right on. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just unmasked and everything like that.
Yeah.
So right on.
So it was
cool.
and it was the Australian tour style of how he sang the high version on Detroit Rock City,
right?
Which still to this day is my favorite version of that. And if you don't know what that is, you can go look up the from Kiss Exposed, the Australian clip of them doing from in the.
They get enough because I've set a world record for Kiss concerts.
Awesome.
703.
Look at that. Wow.
So
well, I'm impressed. I've seen every
Not
tour.
Just a fan, I was the fan club president. So.
Right on, man.
So Kiss Army.
I've been in a Kiss Army since I was when did we do it? 77.
Cool.
Yeah, and I've been for every tour since basically.
Are you going to the?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Are you going to bring your son?
Yeah,
okay.
No question.
Have to.
Yeah, no question. And his, they did that Kiss Scooby-Doo cartoon just recently,
right?
And that was on heavy rotation at our house, and Cam would sit in his car seat and ask me to play "I Was Made for Loving You," Shandy. And All Night was his favorite song for a little while.
Oh, I was just with Jean Bouvier.
Oh, yeah.
The one that wrote
Yeah.
All Night, and we interviewed him. And then
his solo record, Drums Along the Mohawk, is fucking great.
Incredible.
Listen, kid.
Yeah,
I'm missing the young days and Feel the Heat, which is on the Cobra soundtrack.
Exactly.
You're good people.
Thank you. So we definitely have to hang. Okay. So a lot of peeps don't know that you did have a band called 01.
Still do.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Any chance of a reunion?
Yeah. No, we have a single out now called Strange. It's on iTunes.
Okay. So
Very
we definitely want to play it.
Yeah.
So
and we'll be doing. We got 2 songs we're doing in the studio right now. We're going to complete an album this year. So
okay, anybody on it that we would know besides you?
As players,
did the Steel Panther thing? I know you're good friends with. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Michael Starr.
Yes.
And certainly. Well, all those guys. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have Doug Pinnick produced our first record,
Right.
And so I'm going to have him sing on the next one,
Great.
with me. We're doing a 6-song EP called Monster Bursy, which is 6 songs by 6 different artists that were banned for 6 different reasons.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to say which song he's going to do because I don't want to give any of the songs away. But it's all songs that I don't believe deserved to be banned.
Right on.
Even by the stuff that gets played today, you're like, really? That got kicked off the air, but this one,
Right.
yeah. So I'm gonna have him play on one of those tracks too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Baby, It's Cold Outside.
That's right. Yeah, Baby, It's Cold Outside. That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah. You heard it first. All right. Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we might track that one just because
You have to.
need to. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. There's gonna be 90 versions of it by next Christmas. You know that, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like the Judas Priest or like a Twisted Sister did a Christmas
Right.
record. They could
Absolutely.
do it for the next one. Yeah.
He actually been out here for part of it. Very Merry Twisted Christmas.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So
That's great. I love Dee.
and I was just with JJ and what's it called? Eddie Ojeda
Yeah.
on Saturday. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Great guys.
I've always when I got my first acting job
Right.
in LA. So my dad takes me out to LA. I'm still in high school. And I won the Funniest Teenager in Chicago contest. I get to sign with one of these agencies that was there.
Cool.
And there were bigger agencies than the one I signed with, but the one I signed with had an office in LA. And I knew I'm going to make that transition. Now I'll already have an agent in Los Angeles. So that was I made that strategic decision. And so she's like, I can get some auditions for you if you want to come out during summer break. So my dad was like, that's what I'll do. I'll take him out. And he'll go on auditions, and he'll see how horrible it is, and he won't book anything. And then, he'll come home and he'll realize this is folly. And I booked 2 things and had to choose between them. and one of them was a commercial series, like a series of commercials, which would have paid more money. And one was an acting job, which actually required more time, didn't pay as much, but I got a reel out of it. And it was the Frog, this after-school special I did. So, but we had to find somebody to drive me around. I didn't have my license yet. So my dad's girlfriend knew this woman. Her daughter was taking summer break or whatever. So I stay at this house all during the week and a half that I'm shooting this after-school special. And I only had 2 cassettes with me of music. One was Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry.
Of course.
And the other one was the Kiss Crazy Nights cassette single.
Awesome.
Which had, I think, Bang Bang You on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they basically saved my sanity the entire time because the woman that I was staying with, her daughter was 18 and was driving me around, and like the woman would start drinking at like 8 a.m. And I would be in my little bedroom that I was renting from them as her daughter was my chauffeur, and I would just hear her going, "He's 16 years old and he's got his life together better than you do." Like this girl, I'm sitting in the back of the car while this girl's like, "Yeah, fucking kid," the whole time. But I would just sit and I was like, once the shouting starts, I would just put on my headphones and just tune out and just listen to Stay Hungry over and over again.
Nothing wrong with that. Great album.
Yeah.
Speaking of cars, I used to be in the car business.
All right.
Need to know, what kind of car do you drive?
I drive an FJ Cruiser.
Awesome. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
Great truck.
Yeah, it's awesome. I liked it because I got it right when my kid was born because I needed a new car. And I needed something where I could put a child seat in it and have multiple people in it at the same time. And I was like, okay, it's probably going to be an SUV or whatever. And I picked this one because it had suicide doors on it.
Right.
And I was like, even as he gets older, he will never be able to accidentally open the door.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
I fell out of a car when I was 3.5.
I did too. I fell out when I was 4. This is good. Like, it explains a lot. You know, apparently the main thing that happens when you fall out of a car at a young age is you become an Enough's Enough fan.
Exactly.
And you like deep tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
and we saw Kiss in the same year, 1980.
And right there you go.
I saw Eric Carr's first performance.
That's
July
awesome.
25th.
I loved Eric. That was a sad loss, and the fact that he died on the same day Freddie went, and nobody kind of remembers that. Yeah, just sad. So. And I can't watch the God Gave Rock and Roll to You video now, knowing that he was like he knew he was sick and he was like,
and he was wearing a wig.
Yeah, he was just falling apart in that stuff. But look how joyful he looks in it. And
because he said, "I don't care. I'm going to play on this."
Yeah,
video. And he did.
Yeah,
because I saw him 3 days before he went.
Wow. Yeah,
I was up in
bless his heart.
Kettering.
Yeah,
and he's like, he was fine. He said he was fine. He's like, I'm going to beat this. He's like, I'm tired right now, but I'm going home.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm like, all right. I gave him a hug, gave him a teddy bear, and I'm like, and he showed me the scar he had on his chest and everything. I'm like, bro, you got more hair. Like Chewbacca's stunt double.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, it'll grow back.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. And I'm like, I'll see you when you get out.
Yeah.
Just call me when you get out.
Right, yeah.
And then 3 days later, I turn on Kurt Loder.
Yeah.
I think his name from
Kurt Loder, yeah.
And I said, today, Eric Carr, former drummer.
Yeah.
Former.
Yeah.
And then they showed it, and then that was it, and then they talked about Freddie Mercury the rest of it.
Right.
I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was definitely hard.
Because he helped Kiss turn a corner into such a beautiful era for them, and I think it's a very underrated musically era for them, especially Creatures and Lick It Up and.
Well, listen to his drumming.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible. I'm not knocking Peter because he had his own style.
The opening of Asylum,
right?
Just literally King of the Mountain.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That song isn't possible with Peter Criss as the drummer.
I totally
agree. It just physically isn't. Neither is I Love It Loud to some degree, even as simple as it is. It's just different playing style.
Absolutely.
Peter was always a light player.
It's a Gene Krupa kind of style, jazz style, and Eric was the Bonham style.
God damn, he was. So good. Love you, Eric.
Absolutely.
Wherever you are. He's home. That's where he said he was going. That's where he went.
Yeah, he is. So, in the FJ Cruiser, what's in the CD player right now?
I don't. It has a CD player in it. I don't know that it has a disc in it currently, because most of the time I just hook my phone up and I run off of that.
Okay.
So the current playlist.
That's what I was just about to get to.
Curiously enough, let's look at the one that I have probably running the most. This is my singing playlist, which is when I'm working on healing my voice after a period of time. Let's see. Actually, where's that one?
And do you sing in the shower?
What is that old joke or whatever? 90% of all men masturbate in the shower and only 10% sing. You know what song they sing though?
No.
I didn't think so. That's the old. So there you go. So
any more chafing, I'd be a girl.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. So it's it's a weird mix of all kinds of stuff, including Them Bones, Alice in Chains, Inhale by Big Wreck, Parade of the Dead by Black Label Society, Berserkers by Black Label Society, Hit the Lights by Black Tide, which is a cover that they did, Let Me Go Tell Somebody by King's X, The Real Thing, Faith No More, Step Into the Light by Dust for Life, Foreigner's Double Vision, My Way by Kiss off of Crazy Nights, Iron Head by Helmet, A Man Exit, Hope's Fall, I'm Free from House of Lords.
Oh, wow. James Christian's band.
There you go. Mountain Song, Jane's Addiction, Rocket Ship, War Machine.
Nice.
Wicked Sensation by Lynch Mob. Shortest Straw by Metallica, which has always been one of my favorite Metallica songs.
Right.
The list goes on and on. So it's Schism by Tool, Fall to Pieces, Velvet Revolver.
Tool's doing some shows this summer.
Yeah.
I just saw a couple of announcements. They're doing the Chicago Open Air.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it open.
It's worth going to see. I learned a very valuable lesson about how Maynard from Tool writes songs. He writes a song about the worst person he can imagine, and then he changes the pronouns from you to I,
right,
and internalizes it, which I think is really fascinating. And so I wrote Mad Season off of our first record. The first track on that record is written that way.
Okay.
And it's about a drug addict, but I wrote it in the you form, and then I switched it to I.
Wow.
And just using that technique to try and get the lyrics done on a record.
Gotcha. So, speaking of Maynard and everything, if you had an opportunity to play with any musician, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, jeez. I would do a tour with Paul Stanley in a heartbeat. I would love to be his rhythm guitar player, and that kind of thing, like singing backup if he was doing solo or whatever. There's a bunch of people that I have a lot of respect for that stylistically are all over the mark or whatever. Like Phil Collins, for example, I think it's a bad rap, and I think it's he's written some of the most spooky, intricate songs ever, you know, in that realm. So, and he's old and touring again. And
I was going to say, have you seen this tour?
No, I haven't.
His son's playing drums.
Yeah, his son's playing drums.
And he's like 17 years old.
Yeah, it's basically he's doing this to introduce his son to the world as the next Phil Collins, which I think is a genius way to go.
I wish Gene would do that with Nick, but...
yeah, but Nick's less of a musician than his dad in some ways.
Right.
Just like, as far
Sophie's the one that's taking the reins now.
Yeah, but Nick's great. Nick's a talented dude, and he sounds great, and he's amazing, like, he's huge. He's
6'8". He's a giraffe.
I know, it's crazy. And Paul's son's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah.
He was in a band and everything. He's no longer in that band.
Right.
You know?
He comes down to the jam sometimes and plays. I think I want to get him to play on some of the...
You should. He's a great guitarist.
Yeah, he is. He's great.
You know?
You know, there's a bunch of people that I would love to just sit around and watch them vibe out their own music.
Right.
Like that, you know. So, yeah. But Paul Stanley's obviously the key one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. A couple more questions because I know you have to get going.
I got a show tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of the show, December 11th through the 13th, you're here in Atlantic City.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the only shows that you have for
in
this
Atlantic
month?
City? Yeah.
In Atlantic City?
Yeah, and then I'm done for the holidays. Because I just got back from China at the end of November, and I crammed in some shows, and then I go back out in January a little bit, stand-up wise, and because I've got posts to do on the show, and then we go back again, and like it's a lot. I'm just crowbarring whatever dates I can fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you. Now you used to do a radio show too.
Still do.
I was going to say
every Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's that show all about?
It's political. It's called the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's on a progressive talk station out of Chicago.
Right.
And I do it when I'm everywhere. When I'm on the road, I
was going to say,
at home.
Voice track it?
Yeah, no, it's live.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so I tie line in and take calls and all kinds of stuff like that. And I stream it on my YouTube channel as well. So that's hence the Mega Worldwide thing because you can get it anywhere.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I needed an outlet for my wonkier political side because I get kind of into the deep reads and the details of stuff like that. But I don't want my outlet to be my stand-up because stand-up is, I think, more humanist and has to be a little broader. And when you deal in pop culture, like topical or political stuff, you're making toilet paper. You're not making jokes for the ages.
Right.
And I feel like you need to be able to write stuff that's kind of timeless as much as you can. Absolutely. Obviously, there'll be stuff that's cyclical, you know, and I deal with some of the stuff that's going on currently, but I try to do it in an evergreen way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of everything that you do, what are you drawn to more? Out of all the outlets that you do with the music and the acting and the stand-up,
they all are so individual. And this isn't a cop-out answer; it's a real answer. It's like, the analogy I use is, what do you like better, eating or breathing? I'm sure you favor one until you can't do the other. Right? Somebody makes you stop breathing.
Right.
You're like, I love food, until somebody makes you stop breathing, vice versa, right? And so stand-up is a singular art form. There is nothing else like it. It is you and a microphone, that's it. And that's the beauty of it. Music is an elevated form of art. Making music and making tones come out of your body and out of your instrument while you're playing is like, it's not on par with anything else. But you're also relying on a band, everything working well. There's a lot of mechanical internal stress involved in just the show happening correctly. Right. You know, even when you have the biggest rigs in the world, your thing that's supposed to lift you up to the rafters can leave you.
It's happened.
It's happened.
I've seen it.
That's right. And the same thing with acting. You are only as good as the material you're given and the actor you're responding to. And so there's a lot where that art is. I don't get to choose what emotion I play when I go to work. As a stand-up, I can talk about whatever I want, but there's a limitation. I can't do rage on stage as a comedian. Nobody can do rage as a comedian. You can do annoyance, and you can rack it up really high and have it be faux rage like Kinnison.
Right.
But you can't do real rage. Once it tips into real rage, it stops being comedy. You can do rage when you're acting, but you don't unless that's what the scene invokes.
Right.
You can't come to work angry and go, oh, I want to play angry today. Like, it doesn't work that way. You play what's in the script and what we're shooting. Right. And music, you can do rage, you can do sorrow, you can do really heavy emotions or whatever, but you can't do annoyance because it's petty. So there, at least metal, anyways. Like, I'm sure, like pop songs and and whatever, you know, you can do Men at Work songs, and they can be about mild annoyances and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But stylistically, the music I like is housed in real rough emotion, and real rage, real anger, real sorrow, real, you know, desire. And so each of these outlets, without them, I'm not a whole person.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't feel like a complete artist.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So, any advice for up and coming comics / actors / musicians?
Well, with comics, like I said, it's all about time. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Get on stage and just start sawing away at it, because you're never going to be able to skip that middle part. And if you try and you get ahead of the curve, where you're like, oh, you got famous on Last Comic Standing or some shit like that, and you've got 10 minutes and you got to go do an hour someplace, you're gonna die. You're gonna your career's gonna eat shit over the course of 3 years. And it happens constantly. Like, look at all those people from Last Comic Standing who weren't already established before they went on,
right?
Who just hit a hard fade as soon as because you can't skip the time. As far as, you know, acting goes, if you think it'll take 3 years, it'll take 15. If you think it'll take 15, it'll take 5. So it's better to go, I'm going to do this till I'm into 2 decades from now.
Right.
And an actor, you don't have to give up once you're a certain. There's so many people who are like, I gotta make it, and you're like, yeah, kinda. You gotta actually show that you've got talent in a period of time. But like, to some degree, like, there's no 20-something Bryan Cranston that people look back on. There's no Anthony Hopkins where you're like, remember when he was a teen star? Like, it doesn't happen. You can start whenever you start.
Right.
There's tons of actors who didn't start till they were 50 or 60 or 70 even, and largely those people are successful because so many people who even were successful give up at that window because they're known for being young and attractive or something, and they just can't take the ego hit.
Some musicians
totally
too.
Yeah.
You know, you brought up Doug Pinnick and King Zax. They didn't start. They were in it for a long time until they really still.
Was Mick Mars 100 when they started Motley Crue?
Exactly. I think so. You should know. Tim should know.
Yeah, right. So you have to be in it for the long game. Because here's my advice to everybody: be impatient with your long-term goals and patient with your short-term goals. Right. Meaning, if you want to be a star, clamor at it day after day, go for it. But that means daily. You gotta rehearse, you gotta practice, you gotta improve your skill, you gotta network, you've gotta promote yourself, you've gotta lay those bricks every single day. So you're building that house all the time. It's like you're building a pyramid. You got to do it one brick at a time. You can't go, I'll slap it together, because it'll come down just as fast. It'll be made out of sand. Right. So you got to just go. And every day it's got to wake you up, but it's what it's got to get you to do. It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym like, I'm going to finally work out, and then you injure yourself right away, you're fucked. You have to be patient with the day-to-day in the gym.
Right.
So that your impatient goal of looking great naked or whatever it is comes way sooner and stays.
Right on.
And this is from someone who looks great naked, I'm just saying.
I don't want to have a visual. Thank you. I'm driving. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Plugs. How can we find you? Are you on all social media?
Oh, yeah. I at Hal Sparks on Twitter, at Hal Sparks on Instagram. I have the Hal Sparks Fang page on Facebook, but I don't use it all that much. I'm on Snapchat, too, as Hal Sparks. Pretty easy to find across those. Anytime a new social media thing comes out, even if it's going to be a piece of shit, I now jump on it immediately so I don't have a squatter stealing my name. There's nothing worse than fucking God damn it that Paul Stanley has to be Paul Stanley online. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or Paul Stanley Live, I think is his thing, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like Kiss Online. Kiss had the dude Kiss Online.
Right.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Because someone owns KissArmy.com.
Yeah.
And they try to buy it, and he won't sell it.
Yeah, right. Because he's
a douche.
Yeah.
Didn't Bruce Springsteen go to court for something like that too? Mm-hmm. Someone else owns his BruceSpringsteen.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, at a certain point, like the squatters are terrible. So as soon as something comes out, that's another thing. If you're going to be an actor, you're going to be a musician, you're going to be whatever goal you have. If it requires self-promotion of any sort, and everything does these days, the minute you decide, when you're in high school, get your name or one version of your name that you will cascade across all things.
I trademarked my name.
There you go. Smart.
I do. I learned that from Gene.
Yeah.
He told me.
Well, I had to
And
buy my
Sebastian
name
Bach.
back. My real name is Hal Sparks, but there was a Hal Sparks who was an actor in the 60s and 50s who retired, and he was still in SAG technically.
Right.
And his name is on there. You have to, if your name is close to someone else's, you either have to change your name or get them to sign off on, letting you use it because they're retired now or whatever. And the dude charged me $1,500.
Damn.
And that was all I made on my first job. Basically, I had to pay to get my name out of hock, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I get to be an actor who uses his real name, and that's
Sweet.
Immensely helpful.
That is very helpful.
Yeah.
My real name
kind of
is
rare.
Steve, but Psycho is just that Gene gave me that name when I was 6 years old. So
Oh, right on.
yeah, he called me Masugana and Psycho because that's when I first met him. I got all excited.
Sure.
I ran up to him like, "Oh my God, you're Gene Simmons." He's like, "Masugana,
Yeah, right.
Psycho,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh my God!" I thought he called me a curse word, and I started
right.
crying. And I ran up to my dad. I'm like, "Dad, he just called me a Masuga something and a Psycho." He's like, "Calm down. Let me go talk to him."
Yeah.
My dad went up to him, and my dad's like, "Hey, Gene, I'm Steve's father." He was just really excited to meet you. He's like, "Tell him I'm just a mortal man, just like you and I. I might wear higher heels than your wife, more makeup than your mom, but just tell him to talk to me."
Yeah.
Everything. So I finally calmed down. I went
Right.
back up to him. He's like, "Come here." He goes, picks me up, puts me on his knee and everything. He's like, "Oh, you're a heavy little fucker, aren't you?"
Yeah, right.
He's like, "So, you married? You have kids?" He's like, "Don't ever get married and don't ever have kids."
Right.
And it's like, "Stay in school though.
Right.
The more you learn, the more you earn." And
There you go.
well,
it's like-
Psycho Steve's stuck.
There you go. When I was 10 years old,
Right.
Colonel Sanders,
The Colonel Sanders.
the Harlan Sanders,
Right.
baked me a cake on my 10th birthday at his
Awesome.
wife's restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky, Mrs. Sanders' restaurant. And he brought it out to me, and he said, "Don't chew no Becker, don't drink no booze." And I never have. I've never drank or done drugs in my life.
Awesome.
And it's we can attribute it to both him and the fact that Kiss didn't.
Yeah,
that
Gene
Gene
and
and
Paul
Paul didn't. Yeah.
Right.
And I was always inspired by that, and I was also inspired by the fact that the two guys that did got jettisoned fairly early, and I was like, all right, that's a lesson.
All right. So still to this day, no drinking.
Nothing.
Really?
Never.
So we can't do a shot of Jaeger.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Props to you.
Mail mine to Doug Stanhope.
That's awesome. Wow.
Mail him a shot. And so this is from Hal Sparks.
Okay. Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
Well, also, I want to say thank you
Yeah.
so very much for doing this.
Absolutely.
And then also your publicist, Penny.
Yeah.
And Sarah?
Sarah, yes.
Yeah.
Sarah
Sarah's great.
help
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
facilitate this.
Nice.
And of course, Tim Louie here at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino
Yeah,
in Atlantic City.
Don't come down here and just gamble. You can stay.
Yes. December 11th through the 13th.
That's right.
Hal Sparks, and his website's halsparks.com.
That's right.
And like you said, all the forms is Hal Sparks, not
Yeah.
Hale Sparks.
Yeah,
Don't
not
get everyone
Hale.
confused with Hailstorm.
Yeah,
Hal
right.
Sparks.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So, thank you.
Dude,
very much, man. This was an
Absolutely.
honor.
Yeah, pleasure.
You know?
Totally
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, keep listening. Tune in every Wednesday at 12:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also on Friday on iTunes or anywhere Apple Podcasts are on. So you should listen. So
I insist.
yes, please do.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll talk nice things about you.
Thanks.